ANC Holdings net income is down by about 42%. Does not come as a surprise based on what we saw happening last year in the economy. What is your outlook for this particular stock?
Basically, it's not a surprise that the posting of what CMC has actually done, because I think if I'm not wrong, they did give a warning on their profits and how the results will be. And when you look at it, how basically the economy has been, the economy actually has weak fundamentals. So basically, Kenyans actually avoiding in terms of buying new cars, things that are luxurious. So what they're doing is basically looking at second-hand market, cars from Dubai, cars from Singapore, Japan. So the outlook for that particular counter and basically the entire sector of manufacturing, of selling new vehicles in the country is going to be not pretty good. The drop we're looking at a drop of at least 17% this quarter in terms of sales, and in terms of actually growth should be actually stagnating or negative one.
Another counter that seems to be attracting quite a bit of interest is Athi River Mining. That's from the last quarter of last year. And yesterday the share price closed 4 shillings higher. Today it closed at 107 shillings. Is this a stock you're watching out for, especially as they raise a bond towards the end of this week?
In the manufacturing sector, it's one of the key stocks they're actually watching, because one, the demand for its products and services in the real estate and construction sector is actually high, and you're seeing that with them listing the bond at the end of the week or early next week actually gives an impetus to the investors that they're actually looking out for their strategy in 2010. They're looking at how they can dominate the market share in Kenya and especially in East Africa. And most of the companies are actually not just looking at the Kenyan market alone. They're looking at what the East African community integration actually portends for them and how they can actually be able to increase the market share. And the only way to increase market share is actually by listing. It's the easiest way now companies have realized actually in terms of raising capital other than going to a bank, because banks have stringent conditions and terms that a company must fulfill. And if you see how the economy has been, banks actually becoming a bit afraid to lend money to companies.
And what's your take behind what's happening behind the Kenya Airways stock? Yesterday closed at 4 shillings higher. This whole week we've seen it go up at about 10, from last week up to this week, about 10 shillings higher than the previous week. Is this upbound sustainable? And as we go into the World Cup, do you think Kenya Airways stock is something that investors should be looking out for?
Towards the end of last year, Safaricom was among the top counters for any investment group to actually look at. But this year, KQ is one because of, it's the only, I think, company that has strong fundamentals in the market this quarter. One, because of its strategy in terms of having enough traffic routes across many countries in Africa. And I think its strategies actually put in mind World Cup, because now with the many teams, like right now we have Angola 2010, and then after this, basically having the World Cup sometime in June. So I think the fundamentals for it are very good. It's the rally is sustainable, and I think the losses they've been making, especially in terms of fuel hedging and management, actually going to be recouped. So it's a key stock to watch alongside Safaricom, and it's the best stock. If I had money to buy, it's one of the key stocks I'll actually get into.
Talking about key stocks, Sansini has been a key stock for a long time. That's one of the largest tea and coffee producers. And there's been an advance on a forecast that the country may see a 10% rise in production. That's following the torrential rains that we've been seeing as compared to the drought that we had last year. Do you think this will have an impact in terms of, will the prices be lower this year? Will the demand be less based on the high volumes of production that we're likely to see?
Research indicates that demand for Kenyan coffee is actually going to go up at least 7%. With the strategy put in place by Sansini Group in terms of diversifying the products and services towards the end of last year is actually going to pay off. Thank God to the rains that we are getting, and I think they position themselves to take advantage of this. So in the agriculture sector, Sansini is actually a key counter to actually look at in terms of growth, in terms of sustainability of the fundamentals they have, and in terms of actually being able to recoup the investment they've been putting in for the last 2 years.
Now, last year when we spoke, you said Safaricom is likely to hit the 10 shillings mark by mid this year. We've seen a rally as the week begins. Are you still staying with that point?
Yes. One, because I believe any business in Kenya, and especially the East African community, any business will grow on the platform of IT. And I believe in this country, Safaricom has the biggest network for IT provision and sustainability. So any business person who will want to grow will actually partner with Safaricom. And the fundamentals for Safaricom are very key. So I believe it will hit 2-digit point by June this year. The fundamentals are good. There's a lot of interest from foreign investors, and research actually indicates that it's a company whose strategy is actually targeting the mass